Hey everyone, this is Friedel Hugger, Asia Raven, and I'm back with my recap and review of Animal Kingdom Season number 4, Episode number 6, which is titled Into the Black. So, we have all been waiting because we knew that someone was going to find out that Adrian has been talking to the police, and this episode was very high in intensity, especially if you are a fan of Darren and Adrian. So, the episode opened up with Andre I guess his name is Andre, right? Andre telling Smurf that someone is talking to the feds about her family, and it's someone very close to the Codys. And of course, Smurf goes into high alert mode, and she wants Andre to find out who the mole is because. Yeah, Smurf's going to kill anyone who's talking about the family, especially to the police. So I'm not really sure if it's Adrian or if they're trying to do a bait and switch, and maybe Angela is the one who's talking to the police, maybe even Mia. I don't think Mia would do that, but I really think that it might be. It could be Angela because I don't trust her. So moving on, we have a scene where Pierce is trying to talk to Adrian. It turns out that Adrian has been ignoring Pierce's calls. And yeah, Living Good, his name is Living Good, right? So Living Good tells Adrian that when Pierce calls, you need to answer the call. And Adrian is like, I don't know anything about Darren. He's a good guy. He might have done something bad when he was young, but right now he hates his mother. He just owns a bar. He's not into anything. And Pierce is like, I can't believe how gullible you are. And the person you love is not the person you think he is, and yada, yada, yada. So Adrian comes back and Darren is waiting for him. And turns out that Adrian told Darren that he was out for a walk or a run at 6 a.m. And Darren is suspicious that something is going on. He asks Adrian if he's cheating on him, and Adrian makes light of the situation. Darren is suspecting something, especially because Adrian is caught up in all of that drugs smuggling stuff. So over at the house, Joshua is sleeping, and Smurf wakes him up and tells Joshua that they have a mole somewhere. Someone is talking to the police, and she wants Joshua to find out who that person is. And yeah, Smurf isn't having any of it, and Smurf tells Joshua that if he wants to be in charge, this is being in charge, and she wants a name. So over at Craig's house, Craig goes to check on Ren, and Ren is sleeping, and on the notebook she has these names: Logan, Max, Ford, and Crest. And Craig is just reading those names, and yeah, Craig is really he likes Ren, and I think he needs a purpose in his life, and taking care of Ren and the upcoming baby gives him that purpose. Over at the house, Pope is worried about Smurf, even though in the previous episodes he was like, the day that you die will be the happiest day of my life. And he asks Smurf because Smurf is going through chemo. He asks Smurf if she needs a ride, and Smurf is like, no, I can manage it. So Joshua ends up putting a tracker under Smurf's car, which, okay, I guess, yeah. And Angela walks in, and Angela asks Joshua what's with the bruise on his face, and he's like, I got hit, and yada, yada, yada. And Angela is like, I'm here for you, Joshua. You can trust me. And if you are like planning something, count me in. Again, I don't trust Angela one bit. Over at the bar, Joshua goes to give Darren fake phones and tells Darren about what Smurf thinks about someone talking to the feds about the family. And Darren is like, Smurf is probably just angry because they pulled the Frankie job, and it's her weird way of getting back to them. So, because if there was someone talking to the police, Smurf would have already handled it or sent Pope after that person. But yeah, even though Darren is saying that, Darren thinks that it might be Adrian. So over at the house, Smurf goes to the chemo appointment on her own, and Angela goes and talks to Pope, and yeah, they're connecting with each other, and she's like, Smurf always had power over you, even when you were young, and yeah, I don't trust her. So Darren goes to Craig's house, and he talks to Craig about Smurf sending Joshua to find whoever it is who's talking to the police. And Craig is like, yeah, I'm not really sure if there is someone who's talking to the police, and it might have to do with the Frankie job, and Smurf might be joking. So we go to the flashback, and in the flashback, we see Smurf telling the guys about a new job that she has planned. And it's about hitting a hippie complex, and they apparently have a lot of money, and she wants the boys with her. And she's like, we need to change something. It's easy money. We shouldn't risk our lives by hitting banks. And while they're there, there's this waitress by the name Pam, and she and Colin, right? His name is Colin or Jake. Colin, yeah, Colin. I'm not really sure these names. So, yeah, Pam and Colin are like hitting it off. Over at the chemo appointment, Smurf is by her own, and while she's waiting, an old woman comes and sits right next to Smurf, and she talks about her grandchildren and her family and owning a red van. And I'm like, yes, Smurf is getting annoyed. You need to be quiet. So Craig decides to break into Frankie's warehouse because he wants her attention. Over at the beach, Darren goes to meet Adrian, who has been practicing, and Darren tells Adrian that he needs to be careful because of how Jake's smuggling warehouse got busted, and he wants to make sure whether or not Adrian will be caught up into it. And again, Adrian lies. And he's like, I'll be okay. And Darren is like, you need to be careful. Yeah, Darren's mind, it's thinking. So Frankie goes to Craig, and she tells Craig that he screwed her up by stealing Rao's bike and $1 million watch. And Craig is like, I don't really care. My brother's after me. I need the money. And it turns out that Frankie ended up working with Craig because she wanted to get into Smurf's good books. And Craig is disappointed about that. So over at the house, Pope is getting ready. And yeah, he takes Angela to this kickboxing match that he has. Again, I'm not really a fan of these. I'm not really a fan of these interactions because you can tell that Angela is working an angle. So in the flashback, Smurf wants to pick up this huge gun, and Colin comes in, or is it Jake? Again, these names. So Smurf decides to not get chemo. Basically, in the scene, it was that she picks up a big gun, but her boyfriend tells her that no, she'll be okay with a handgun. So Smurf decides not to get chemo. She's also getting annoyed by the woman that was talking to her, and she walks out of the clinic, and she ends up piercing the tires of the woman as revenge. And Joshua is seeing all of this. Over at Craig's house, Craig notices that Ren is still dealing, and he wants her to be careful, especially with the baby, and especially because Jake's warehouse got hit. And Ren is like, I'll be careful. So they reach the destination, Angela and Pope is like, it's going to be messy. Will you be all right? And Angela is like, a little blood doesn't scare me. I'll be okay. So he opens the door for her, and yeah. So at the clinic, Joshua goes in, and he's like, I'm looking for my grandmother, Janine Cody. And the nurse tells Joshua that she cut her chemo short, and now Joshua knows that Smurf has cancer. So during the flashback, the gang is hitting the area or the hippie complex that Smurf told them about. And when they're in, it turns out that the entire thing was just Smurf's way to get revenge on a person who used to be her mother's friend and who used to sell her out for sexual favors. And I think he also sexually assaulted her, and it was revenge. And Smurf got the power, and she ended up shooting him in the knee. And I was like, all the power to you, Smurf. But the thing also gets out of hand because one of the hippies there has a gun, and he shoots, and I think it hits Colin, and they have to run away. So Angela and Pope come back after the fight, and Angela asks Joshua what he learned after swallowing Smurf, and Joshua lies to her. He doesn't tell her that she has been getting chemo. However, in the room, Pope tells Angela about what's up and how Pope is under a lot of pressure, especially because Smurf isn't allowing him to tell his brothers about what Smurf is battling. So at the bar, Darren is trying to think of ways about how to save himself, how to save Adrian, because he knows that even if Smurf or Pope even suspect that Adrian is talking to the police, it's bye-bye Adrian. He hears a knock on the door, and it's Colby, and Colby's the one Colby tries to blackmail Darren, And he's like, what will Pope do if Pope thinks that Adrian is talking to the police? And I'm like, Colby, you do not blackmail the Codys. And yep, he tries to blackmail Darren, and Darren isn't having none of it because he loves Adrian, and he ends up shooting Colby. So bye-bye, Colby. So over at the house, Ren is still dealing, and Craig decides to buy all of the drugs for her because he doesn't want her to go out and dealing and all of that stuff. And again, Craig has feelings for Ren, but I don't think if this is going to progress any further. So Darren decides to call Pope, and he tells Pope that it was Colby who was talking to the police. And when he confronted Colby about it, Colby attacked Darren, and Darren had to shoot him. And it's a lie, of course, but Pope decides to help Darren dispose of the body. Over at the house, Murph is like, Joshua, did you find the person who was talking to the police? And Joshua is like, no, I didn't. So yeah, Darren ends up burying Colby with Pope's help, and Darren is like, I don't feel anything, and Pope tells him that it's the adrenaline and he'll feel all of that tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, Darren, the things we do for love. So during the flashback, Smurf's boyfriend confronts him about the job, and he tells him that he's okay with doing jobs with Smurf, but she needs to be truthful about it, and she needs not to make jobs personal. And Smurf is like, yeah, I understand. I'll be truthful to you. So over at Darren's residence, Darren, after killing Colby, has a lot of emotions he needs to address, and he's taking a shower. Adrian walks in, and Darren tells Adrian that he loves him. And you know what? For a second, I thought that Darren was going to strangle Adrian during this scene, and because it kind of would make sense. But I'm so glad that he didn't strangle Adrian, because again, Darren loves Adrian so much. So, and he even killed for Adrian. So it'd be interesting to see what Darren decides to do to keep Adrian safe. And I really hope that Adrian tells Darren the truth. I'll be doing a written review of this for the Geekiary. The link to that will be down in the comment section below as soon as the review goes up. What did you think about this episode? It was very intense, especially if you are someone who is a fan of Darren and Adrian. Other than that, nothing really happened in this episode. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.